Part 63. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 621. What's the matter? Zhang Lingzi patted Lu Zhenzhen's little head and said, "My head is not big, but I think a lot." Hand waved to Wei Minmin who was walking in front, "It's okay." Lu Zhenzhen lowered his head in shame, I'm just a little worried, they have so many bodyguards. In case you really want them to suffer a loss, there are many ways. Even if things get into trouble accidentally, the Albers family will definitely protect their own family and their friends. They are just one of the many invited guests here, so they are not special. Being in public and with so many live broadcasts, her image is still important. Lu Zhenzhen thought about it, and her spirits were shaken. Her slightly bent back straightened up again, and she followed Sister Zixi with her head held high. This is also her first time to come to the fashion palace. Otherwise, she would never have entered the fashion hall once in her life. Since I have the opportunity to go in and take a look this time, I naturally want to have a good time. Since the fashion palace is called a palace, just from the appearance, it is already extremely luxurious and magnificent. But everyone who enters for the first time can't help but open his mouth and exclaim when he sees the gleaming interior filled with gold and jade. Wei Minmin looked at Lu Zhenzhen and the others who couldn't close their mouths, and said with a smile, "When I first came in, I was almost like you, haha, I looked like I had never seen the world. Come on, more, just a few times will be enough." Sister 11, on the other hand, is calmer than us. Has Sister 11 been here before? Zhang Lingzi looked at the decorations that smelled of money everywhere in front of her and shook her head, "No, this is my first time here." The reason why she was not as surprised as Lu Zhenzhen and the others was naturally because she had seen buildings that were more luxurious and more charming than this one. Sitting on the throne requires one to shoulder the heaviest responsibility in the world. But the benefits are also very obvious. In addition to holding great power, there is also the ability to support one person with the wealth of the world. All the good things obtained within the territory under his jurisdiction, whether they are produced in the land or made by craftsmen, must select the best part and send them to the palace as tribute. She just casually mentioned that she wanted to visit Jiangnan Road. The people below immediately understood the holy intention. Before she left, they first selected a site in the most prosperous city in Jiangnan, gathered their strength, and built a beautiful palace is only for her to live temporarily. She only stayed in that palace once. Later, thinking that it would be a pity to keep it empty, she simply had the overly luxurious decorations replaced and turned it into the largest academic palace in Jiangnan province. Thousands of years have passed, and the old site of the academy is still there, but it has been renovated many times. She has not been there yet since she woke up, and has only seen pictures on her phone. The changes are not small, but you can still vaguely see the grand scene of the imperial palace and then the academic palace thousands of years ago. Since she has seen better ones, what she sees before her cannot really arouse her exclamation. What interests her is the interior design of the fashion palace. It is narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. The higher you go up, the more exquisite it becomes to the naked eye. As the only one who is familiar with this place, Wei Minmin explained responsibly while leading the way, the fashion palace has 8 floors in total, and there are several brands on each floor, but as you can see, the higher you go up, the larger the area, the smaller the building, the fewer the brands. This is a way of showing the hierarchy and status among brands. Except for the Fashion Development Museum on the 8th floor, there are only 6 on the 7th floor, all of which are old brands that have a history of hundreds of years. There seem to be 10 or 12 houses on the 6th floor, and there are more as you go down. The cloud that our Huazhu brand sells can be considered an internationally renowned brand, but it is only on the 3rd floor. There are dozens of companies with the same status in the world. Speaking of this, Wei Minmin sighed, everyone from all walks of life has in volume, the competition in the fashion industry is also very fierce. It seems that there are several high-end luxury brands that are unable to survive this year. However, this also shows that we humans have higher and higher requirements for aesthetics. I feel like I can spend a whole day and a night here. We definitely won't be able to finish shopping this afternoon. We can shop selectively and only look at the brands and stores we like. By the way, Sister 11 wants to buy you a lipstick. I remember that UA's store is also on the 3rd floor. Then go to the 3rd floor first, Zhang Lingzi said, and then go to Yunzwanzwan. Others naturally have no objections. The fully transparent viewing elevator goes directly to the 3rd floor. Lu Zhengzheng stood at the door, going out first, and was about to walk out when he paused. Fang Yao stood behind her and almost stepped on her heel. Why don't you leave? Lu Zhengzheng hurriedly stepped aside, raised his chin and gestured towards the opposite side. Look. Fang Yao looked in the direction she indicated and saw 2 rows of bodyguards protecting the 2 figures walking in the middle. Store managers from major brand stores were waiting at the door, waiting to receive distinguished guests. Can't help but take a breath together. They also went to some big-name stores out of curiosity when they were in the imperial capital. They were just browsing, and they definitely couldn't afford to buy. Moreover, the clerks at those big-name stores were indifferent or even turned their noses up in the sky. They didn't even have the courage to go in. They could only hang around outside. This is the first time I have seen such a friendly and even flattering service attitude. Zhang Lingzi got out of the elevator, glanced at Gu Jiantong and looked away. Which color lipstick did Xiao Xiao say she wanted? Lu Zhengzheng was asked and finally came to his senses. 333. Wei Minmin, Yue is over there. The store manager of Yue was also waiting at the door for Miss Albers to arrive. When Zhang Lingzi and Wei Minmin entered, they were greeted by a store clerk from Huazhu. Working in a place like this, you can basically see a lot of celebrities every day, and the clerks have long been used to it. Even if they recognized Zhang Lingzi and Wei Minmin at a glance, they didn't show much excitement. They just saw that they were both from China, so their attitude was more enthusiastic. She told her the lipstick shade she wanted, wrapped it in a delicate gift bag, and was about to go to the counter to check out when her cell phone rang first. The clerk immediately took a step back politely and waited for the customer to answer the phone. Zhang Lingzi patted Wei Minmin's arm and answered the phone at the same time. Sister Yun. Have you come to the fashion palace? I just spotted a figure that looks a lot like you. Zhang Lingzi subconsciously looked outside the store. Are you there too? I arrived this morning and rested at the hotel in the morning. I wanted to have lunch with the brat, but it turned out that I couldn't come over just after I got off the plane. I'll come to the store here in the afternoon to have a look. I'm out shopping with my friends, and I'll buy something at UA. Then come over after you finish shopping, and let's meet. Speaking of which, since you became the brand ambassador of Yun, you haven't come to Yun to visit yet. To tell you the truth, I am preparing to go there. Haha, that's good, I'll wait for you. Well, hang up first. Wei Minmin went to help Zhang Lingzi pay for the lipstick. When Zhang Lingzi hung up the phone, she immediately came over to take credit. I have a premium membership discount, which saved you almost 100. I'll treat you to ice cream later, for 100 yuan. That's pretty much it. By the way, who called just now, and who are you going to see? Zhang Lingzi took the receipt, looked at it, and replied casually, you should also know Yun Chan. She is in her store now and just called to say she saw me. Wei Minmin. The clerk waiting aside. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 622. After coming out of UA, a few people went straight to the cloud not far away. On the other side of Yun's brand store, the store manager and clerks who were waiting at the door for Miss Alber's arrival saw their boss walking out with a smile on his face. Mr. Yun, are you leaving now? The store manager hurriedly walked over. Miss Albers is on the 3rd floor right now. She likes Chinese-style clothing very much in the past year. She has been here twice in the past 3 times. Everyone will come to our place, and if nothing happens this time, they will come too. Why don't you wait a little longer to talk to her? This opportunity is rare. Miss Albers is the first child of the current head of the Albers family. Her status in the Albers family is also well known and stable. It is even rumored that she is one of the people behind the scenes in the fashion palace. It also plays an important role in the fashion industry. If they can win this person's appreciation, their position in this fashion palace may be even higher. Yun Chan replied to her son's message saying he wanted to come over to see her. He put down his cell phone and waved to the store manager and the clerk next to him. Make a pot of tea, and get some desserts that the little girl likes to eat, and put them in the guest lounge area at the back. The store manager's eyes suddenly lit up. Mr. Yun, are there any distinguished guests coming? Well, he's my friend. When he heard that it was not Miss Albers who was coming, the store manager's excitement suddenly cooled down. But the big boss's friend is also a super heavyweight. She nodded and quickly went to prepare with her clerks. Zhang Lingzi saw Yun Chan standing at Yunman's door from a distance, and Yun Chan also saw her immediately. The two looked at each other, smiled and waved. Wei Minmin was still mumbling in a low voice, I only knew that you helped this person walk a show before, but I didn't expect that your relationship in private is so good, and you are still greeting me at the door. Miss Albers didn't even come over, it's so big. That is definitely not just because of walking in a show. However, the inside story is not enough for outsiders to understand. There is another reason, we are more congenial. Then I will join you today and enjoy the feeling of being personally greeted by the founder of Yun. Ling 11. Sister Yun. The two came closer, opened their hands and hugged each other gently. The clerks who looked over quietly from the side had expressions of shock and a little enlightenment. Zhang Lingzi became one of Yun's brand ambassadors just by doing a rescue show more than a month ago. I have long heard that their big boss particularly admires this young girl who is an actress and is not yet a prostitute. When I saw her today, I realized that the rumors were not false at all. Miss Wei. Yun Chan reached out to Wei Minmin again. Wei Minmin quickly extended his hand and shook it. Mr. Yun, just call me Minmin. That's okay, you and Ling 11 can just call me Sister Yun. Wei Minmin restrained her excitement and immediately changed her words, Sister Yun. Yun Chan hadn't forgotten to say hello to Lu Zhengzheng, who was walking behind Zhang Lingzi, and saw a fat and cute little girl holding hands with Lu Zhengzheng. This girl is Fang Yao, my new assistant. Yes, you picked the person yourself. Yes. Fang Yao's face turned red and he was excited. Although on the way here, Lu Zhengzheng, as a senior who had already met Yun Chan, had already vaccinated her. Yun Chan, the founder of Yun, is very easygoing and good-tempered in private. But who makes people famous? In his 20s, he entered the international fashion circle alone. In one fell swoop, Yun became a world-famous brand, entered the fashion hall, and firmly occupied a place in the fiercely contested international fashion circle. The name Yun Chan is still the lifelong idol of many fashion newcomers in China. He is a successful predecessor and a benchmark that stands in front of everyone and encourages people to chase after them. Rao is already a little psychological preparation, but now she really stands in front of the character who has been standing in the clouds. The other party also mentioned her, and she boasted that she was good. She felt that she had not fainted yet. Yun Chan let Zhang Lingzi and Wei Minmin into the store. Fang Yao leaned towards Lu Zhengzheng and said, Sister Zhengzheng, my legs are a little weak, let me lean on you. Lu Zhengzheng. She patted Fang Yao comfortingly and said in a come-over tone, just get used to it. When we see how Mr. Casuo gets along with Sister Zixi later, this girl probably won't faint directly. I personally participated in the design of this store, and the most used ones are the various shapes of cloud patterns from China throughout the ages, Yun Chan introduced as he walked. I thought that since I came from China, I should let the world looks at the beauty of our Huazhu clothing, which is no less beautiful than that of anyone in any era, including the store clerks, who are all from Huazhu. It's because they also know Huazhu best. That's right, Yun Chan nodded with a smile. Without irritating Wei Minmin, the products sold here in the fashion hall are always the latest styles of the brand, sometimes even earlier than the ones sold at the headquarters. Ling 11, Minmin, take a look and see if you like it, just wear it. If I hadn't met Ling 11 here, I would have asked the store manager to go to your place in person. After all, he is Yun's brand ambassador and came to the festival. So many pairs of eyes are paying attention to this place, so you need to help Yun promote it more. Zhang Lingzi, it's my duty. I don't even have time to be happy when I have new clothes to wear. After all, who doesn't like beautiful new clothes? It would be better to ask why the Yuan Zhao period was the period when ancient women's clothing was the richest. Naturally, because what goes up works and what works below works. Since he wanted to help promote the brand as a brand ambassador, Zhang Lingzi was not polite. Her vision was so vicious that she picked out several outfits in a short time. Yun Chan watched from the side as she took it casually. He almost made a choice at a glance, but he had no objection at all. After their last acquaintance, she had a clear understanding of Zhang Lingzi's ability to choose clothes. This girl really didn't need other people's opinions. It is better not to give than to give. Wei Minmin is in a normal state, constantly tangled among the dazzling array of clothes. After trying this set, I fell in love with that set, and fell into difficulty in choosing. Yun Chan, there are also some refreshments prepared in the guest lounge area. If you are tired from walking, you can go and sit there. Zhang Lingzi didn't feel tired, but she had a headache when she saw Wei Minmin, a patient with severe difficulty in choosing. After hearing this, she nodded immediately. Minmin, take your time and choose. I'll go sit there for a while. The guest lounge is exquisitely and warmly decorated, specially prepared for distinguished guests who come to the store. Zhang Lingzi sat down and poured a cup of tea, smelled it and was about to drink it when she heard the store manager's excited and loud voice from outside, "Welcome Miss Albers and Miss Gu to the store." She raised her eyes and looked at the door of the store through the clean glass, and saw a group of bodyguards protecting the two figures in the middle, walking in a mighty manner. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 623. Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao had just received the dessert handed over by Yun Chan. Before they had a chance to taste it, their hands shook when they heard the sound and they almost dropped it to the ground. Yun Chan also looked over. I just heard from the store manager that the eldest lady of the Albers family is very interested in Chinese-style clothing recently. She has come here several times. It seems that she really likes it. You must know that when this young lady comes to the Fashion Palace on weekdays, most of the time she goes to the 4th and 5th floors. She rarely stays on the 3rd floor and below, unless she is very interested. No wonder my store manager is so excited. With so many people coming in, Wei Minmin led her assistant to Zhang Lingzi. As soon as he came, he sighed, the momentum is really strong at close range. Even the bodyguards are 1.9 meters tall. The feeling of oppression is too strong. I'd better come in and eat and drink first to avoid it. Mainly because when the two eldest ladies arrived, both the store manager and the clerk received them with great care, and even paid attention to her side. She'd better help them reduce their workload a little, so they won't be in a hurry. Zhang Lingzi waved to her, sit down and have a sip of tea. Yun Chan was sitting beside her, and just as she was about to look away, she saw the store manager looking towards her for help. He stood up for a moment and said, "There seems to be something going on outside. I'll go out and take a look." Zhang Lingzi nodded towards her. Sister Yun, go and do your own business, don't worry about us. Yun Chan came out of the guest lounge area and saw that the store manager and the clerk beside him looked like they were waiting for a savior. What happened? Mr. Yun, just now Miss Gu said she wanted to try the Liu Yunfi He. The new product booklet we sent to Miss Albers did have this set, but this set has just been put away. And there's only one in the store. Yun Chan remembered when she heard what she said. This was one of the things Zhang Lingzi had just picked. And it was chosen as the first set, which shows that it is the one that makes the girl most satisfied. It's better to just say it's too late and someone has already picked you up. Yes, Miss Zhang hasn't left yet. Besides, although Miss Gu is not a distinguished customer of our brand, she came with Miss Albers. Yun Chan's eyes suddenly became a little colder when they fell on the store manager's face. Then you want Ling 11 to give up this dress? The store manager was hesitant and didn't dare to reply, but Yun Chan couldn't tell what he was thinking. Okay, I'll handle this myself. In another guest lounge, the clerk had just served the carefully prepared drinks and desserts to the two distinguished guests, when he turned around and saw the big boss walking over, followed by the store manager. Mr. Yun. Apswini and Gu Jiantong both raised their eyes and looked over. The former was the first to speak, Cloud. Although Apswini is not familiar with Yun Chan, they are both well-known figures in the fashion industry and know each other. Gu Jiantong was even more unfamiliar with Yun Chan. After Apswini finished saying hello, she called out Mr. Yun. I heard from our store manager that Miss Wei Ni is very interested in Huazhu clothing recently. It's Yun's honor. After complimenting Apswini in a neither humble nor condescending way, Yun Chan didn't forget Gu Jiantong. Miss Gu is here. I fell in love with Liu Yunfi He, who has great vision. Gu Jiantong smiled reservedly. If I hadn't followed Wei Ni on this trip, I would have almost missed this amazing set of clothes. Yun's design incorporates Chinese traditions into the clothes, which is of good taste. Thank you for the compliment, but unfortunately, Liu Yunfi He has already been chosen by someone who also likes this outfit. Miss Gu is a step late, and there is only one set of this outfit. I'm really sorry. Miss Gu might as well look at others. Gu Jiantong put the coffee cup she had just picked up back down. Really? The new product brochure that was handed to Wei Ni in the morning was picked up just this afternoon. This customer is really decisive, she agreed. It's not that she liked this outfit very much, but it was rare to encounter such an eye-catching outfit, and it was still in that style. She was really unhappy to be picked out so late. Yun Chan pretended not to notice Miss Gu's displeasure and smiled as usual. That guest is indeed decisive. Logically speaking, you should give up at this point, and everything should be done on a first-come, first-served basis. Even Wei Ni planned to persuade her friend to look at other models. As a result, I heard that my friend was reluctant to let go, then she left. Weenie. Yun Chan's smile faded and he frowned slightly. It seems that Miss Gu is really happy with that set of Liu Yunfi He. In that case, I'll ask the store manager to bring over another one as quickly as possible. Miss Gu can keep it address. I'll deliver the clothes to you as soon as they arrive. How about that? Then, wouldn't it be possible that someone would match my clothes? Apswini, Jiantong, why don't we just forget it? I really like that suit of clothes. Just now I saw that Mr. Yun didn't say whether the guest had left. It seems like he hasn't left. I want to meet her and ask her if she is willing to part ways with her. Although he said willing or not, Gu Jiantong was very confident in her heart. The person sitting next to her is the eldest lady of the Albers family. She is not bad at all in her own life. If the other person is sensible enough, she should politely give up her clothes. Speaking, he reached out to the clerk who had been standing next to him and said, "Take me over." The clerk looked at Yun Chan for help. Did she bring it with her? She can't afford to offend both sides. Yun Chan was already a little impatient, but he still kept his temper down. Isn't Miss Gu a little pushy? How do you know if the other party is willing or not if you don't ask? What if the other party is happy? Selling her a favor is not more valuable than a piece of clothing. Wait a minute, Gu Jiantong said, suddenly reaching out to push away the clerk standing aside, and looking outside the guest room. There was a round and particularly eye-catching figure, that fat girl. I remembered. Assistant Zhang Lingzi, why are you here? In the blink of an eye, an idea flashed in her mind: is the other person who likes Shang Liu Yunfihi Zhang Lingzi? There was no need to answer this question. Just looking at the reaction of the store manager and clerk, she knew that she had guessed correctly. Weenie, do you want to come with me to meet this Miss Zhang? She is now a rising star in your fashion industry. She came to participate in the International Fashion Festival for the first time and lived in Chongxiao Tower. Oh, are you so strong? Winnie showed a hint of interest and a little doubt on her face. And the name Zhang Lingzi, I seem to have heard of it somewhere. Gu Jiantong sneered inwardly. It should be in the entertainment information released by the media. Before, her news was overwhelming. Otherwise she would not have known that Zhang Lingzi was also placed in Chongxiao Tower. Maybe, let's go and meet him. No matter who she meets, it is an honor for them. I expect that Miss Zhang will not refuse. Seeing the two of them getting up, Yun Chan turned back and gave the store manager a look. She didn't expect that Miss Gu would be so reluctant to do this, and she didn't expect that Miss Albers would actually be inspired to succeed, so she decided to go see someone. Now it was too late for her to ask Ling 11 and the others to leave first, so she could only think of a way to give them a heads up. In another guest room. As soon as Zhang Lingzi handed a pack of sanitary napkins to Lu Zhengzheng and asked her to deliver it to Fang Yao, she saw the glass door being pushed open. The store manager was sweating, and his voice was as fast as fried beans. Miss Zhang, Miss Albers is coming to see you. End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 624. After the person finished speaking, his head shrank and he ran away. The few people left in the guest room looked at each other. What's going on? Wei Minmin's eyes widened. Is this Miss Albers so idle? What she did is too inexplicable. Wait, how did she know that we are here too? As he said this, he thought of a possibility and quickly looked at Zhang Lingzi, who was still sitting firmly on the sofa. Sister 11, do you know this person, right? I don't know. Zhang Lingzi shook her head firmly. In fact, I knew the other person who was traveling with me. As for why Miss Albers suddenly wanted to see her, she had never met her before, so it could only be because of Gu Qintong's instigation. As for how Gu Jiantong knew she was here, Zhang Lingzi looked at the glass partitions in the store that had been wiped clean and spotless, and fell silent. The eyes are quite sharp. But if the other party wants to meet him, he should come over in person. Is it possible that she should go to the door in advance to greet him? Lu Zhengzheng, then why did she? Zhang Lingzi sat firmly and said, go and give something to Yao Yao first. Lu Zhengzheng had no choice but to go out quickly and pass the things in his hand to Fang Yao's hand. This girl is in a hurry to use it. Gu Jiantong saw the store manager going out to report the news but didn't care. Mr. Yun, please lead the way. Yun Chan looked at her, then at Miss Albers who had already stood up. He pursed his lips to suppress his displeasure and said, follow me. At first, she thought that Miss Gu was simply unhappy because the clothes she liked were picked out in advance. But after hearing this man's rather strange words when he introduced Zhang Lingzi to Miss Albers, she had another guess. Isn't this person still at odds with Zhang Lingzi? Having been in the fashion industry for so many years, she thinks she still has this bit of vision. Since it is very likely that he will not deal with it, he still insists on going to see her, and even encourages Miss Albers to come with him. After his mind turned around like this, Yun Chan's eyes looked a little colder when he looked at Gu Jiantong. Even his impression of Miss Albers has dropped a lot. She, an outsider, could see what Miss Gu had planned, but she didn't believe that the eldest lady of the Albers family couldn't see it. Taking advantage of others' power, Miss Yu, that's all. Do you really think that showing off the profile of the eldest lady of the Albers family can make that girl Ling 11 bow her head? That only shows that Miss Gu's understanding of Zhang Lingzi is only superficial, and she has no deep understanding of what kind of person Ling 11 is. Since she was going to humiliate herself, why did she stop her? Miss Albers is just a eldest lady, and she is far from being able to dominate the fashion world and the Albers family with one hand. Pushing open the glass door, Yun Chan met Zhang Lingzi's eyes as he looked up, with a hint of hesitation in his heart, and he immediately made up his mind. The store manager had just come over in advance to inform her at her signal, but the rest room was no different from when she left just now. Those who should have tea drink tea, and those who should have desserts eat desserts. They don't seem to be affected at all by the news that two heavyweights are coming. That only proves that Zhang Lingzi, who is calling the shots here, really doesn't feel there is anything to be nervous about. Others are affected by her calmness, and naturally they can stay calm and do whatever they need to do. Ling 11, Miss Gu and Miss Albers want to come and see you. Meet me. Zhang Lingzi's eyes bypassed Yun Chan and landed on Gu Jiantong. It's understandable that Miss Abs is not from China. Although Miss Gu has been living abroad before, her ancestors should also be from China. She has never learned Huazu etiquette? Who taught you to break into other people's resting places so straightforwardly? You, Gu Jiantong felt like she was stabbed hard when Zhang Lingzi's eyes fell on her, and when she heard her unceremonious words, she suddenly became angry. Didn't the store manager say something about us before? Will you come? Why are you still calling me Chuang after I reminded you? She was a little unhappy when she saw that Zhang Lingzi was sitting firmly even though she knew that the eldest daughter of the Albers family was coming, but did not get up and come to greet her at the door as she expected. Now she is not only unhappy, but also has her etiquette and upbringing questioned. How can she be calm about this? It's a reminder, but I didn't say I wanted to see you now that I've met you. Can you go? Gu Qintung's face immediately turned livid again. She could see that Zhang Lingzi was not bluffing and pretending to be calm. She was really confident. This was completely different from what she expected. Has this person forgotten that he is still standing on the territory of the Albers family, facing the eldest lady of the Albers family? This is not an imperial capital with the Shen family as its backer. What does Zhang Lingzi have to rely on, and why does she dare to be so arrogant? Abswini looked at Zhang Lingzi sitting on the sofa. It was also her first experience to be treated so unceremoniously. But she was surprised to find that she didn't seem to be unhappy about being treated coldly. It is true that she is the sweet girl of heaven, and it is true that she has been complimented by people around her since she was a child, but she also knows that these are all brought to her by the family behind her. Her family background gave her a position of being superior to others, but it also cultivated her perspective on people. The girl in front of me was sitting on a soft sofa, holding a small teacup in her hand. But she was stunned as if she were facing her grandma who was sitting at the head of the family dinner once a month. His noble demeanor and charming aura are nothing short of anything. It's incredible. Because the impression of this glance really shocked her, Abe's wine subconsciously remained silent. When I woke up, I saw that my friend was unusually angry and a little aggrieved. What happened just now? Good day, Miss Zhang. I just heard Qian Tong mention Miss Zhang next door, so I thought of coming over to meet you. It's a bit presumptuous, so please forgive me. Zhang Lingzi has always been quite tolerant of beauties, as long as they have no ill intentions towards her. She looked at Miss Albers, who had been silent for a while before speaking after she came in. There was still curiosity in her eyes, and a bit of inquiry. Why did Miss Gu tell you about me? Abswine didn't expect that she would ask this suddenly. She thought about it carefully before replying, well, she said that you are a rising star in the fashion industry. It was your first time to attend an international fashion festival and you stayed at Chongxiao Building. Sounds like a compliment, if you ignore the weirdness with which it was said. Zhang Lingzi smiled and sipped her tea. Miss Gu thinks very highly of me, so I'll accept it reluctantly. Wei Minmin, who was drinking tea and pretending to be calm, said, "Ft." Gu Qintung's face turned black when the laughter penetrated his ears. Zhang Lingzi ignored Gu Qintung's dark face, with a coldness in her eyes. "You finished your compliments, why don't you leave?" Gu Qiantong couldn't help but grind her back molars. After seeing that Zhang Lingzi was really not afraid of the eldest lady of the Albers family, she was really at a loss. Then she found that her friend's attitude towards Zhang Lingzi was also a bit strange, which made her she was a little more flustered. But just turned around and left in such a dejected manner. How would she see anyone in the future? She could only bite the bullet and said, "I fell in love with the Liu Yunfi he, but you picked it out first, can I part with it?" Zhang Lingzi thought about it for a while and then remembered that it was the first set of clothes she had noticed. She asked Yun Chan whether the styles were for men and women. She felt that they matched someone's temperament very well, so she picked out both men's and women's styles. What do you think? Are you sure this question is not nonsense? Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 625. Of course she felt that Zhang Lingzi would endure the aggravation and give her the clothes obediently. This is what she felt just before she stepped into the glass door. But now, it would really be a disgrace to ask any more. "Winnie, let's go." Gu Qiantong turned around directly. Winnie nodded towards Zhang Lingzi, "Sorry to bother Miss Zhang." Just turned around and left. As soon as the glass door closed, Wei Minmin put down her teacup and started applauding like a seal. Sister 11 is domineering. As a member of the Yuan family's charity dinner not long ago, she had a general understanding of Gu Qintung's identity. Not to mention the eldest lady of the Albers family next to her. If it were her, and such two heavyweights came to find trouble, she would be able to handle it without being humble or arrogant, but that was all. Sister 11 doesn't care who comes, and as long as she comes to provoke someone with bad intentions, she will crush them with words and momentum without mercy, and make people run away. She thinks she can't do it. When Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao trotted back in a hurry, they saw that the guest lounge area was as quiet as before they left, and they were still the only ones there. "Where are the people? They didn't come." "Wei Minmin, here he is, and he is gone again." Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao both had question marks on their foreheads. "Is this speed too fast?" Wei Minmin looked at the expressions of the two people, and then looked at Zhang Lingzi who was lowering her hair to send a message, and said silently in her heart, "It's you, Sister 11, who asked them to disturb you. If it were any other person, he really wouldn't be able to send him away so quickly." She could recall Miss Gu's face as black as the bottom of a pot for several days before she left. "Then continue shopping." Zhang Lingzi sent out the edited message and raised her head. "Are you tired of shopping?" The heads in front of me suddenly shook their heads like rattles. They are not tired from shopping, they are tired from being tortured. After all, who can be more stable than you? Then continue shopping. Yun Chan looked at Zhang Lingzi with a smile. "I will ask the clerk to deliver the clothes you have chosen to Kongxialo. Let's have dinner together if we have time in the evening." Watching Zhang Lingzi and others leave, the store manager looked at his big boss and hesitated to speak. "I know what you want to say. Let me choose between Zhang Lingzi and Miss Albers." "I choose Zhang Lingzi." After Yun Chan finished speaking, he motioned to the clothes that had been packed next to him and said, "Send to Chongxiao. You can deliver these clothes to me in person." "But do you really want to offend Miss Albers and her friends because of Zhang Lingzi? There's no point in questioning this now, just do as I say." The store manager had no choice but to swallow his words and nodded obediently. Everything that happened in the guest room did not appear in the live broadcast footage. After all, even if the live broadcasters could enter, they could not bring the equipment in, so everyone just took pictures at the entrance of the store. The main purpose is to let the audience before the live broadcast see how these two young ladies spend a lot of money on shopping and shopping. But the photos were taken well at first, but suddenly they were not allowed to take photos. Facing the bodyguards who came over to stop them, everyone could only give in. After all the cameras were moved away, Gu Jiantong took off his sunglasses, revealing a face that was still tinged with iron. Seeing this, Abe's Wine suggested, "Why don't you go back?" She thought that her friends probably weren't in the mood to go shopping much now. "No," Gu Jiantong frowned and shook his head, "we've only been here for a while, and I won't go back. Let's continue shopping. I'll pay for it today." "Jiantong, although you are my friend, I want to say that when you faced Miss Zhang just now, you were a bit extreme, and you are no longer like you before." Gu Jiantong stopped suddenly and looked over in disbelief. "Are you talking to Zhang Lingzi? I just think that in front of that Miss Zhang, you just acted a little unreasonable, ungracious, and a little—" The word childish hadn't been uttered yet, but Gu Jiantong couldn't stand listening anymore. "Do you think I was a joke just like Zhang Lingzi? You don't know the specific reason at all, and I don't want to say it, either way. Let's go shopping." Abswine stood there, watching her stride away until she disappeared from sight. The bodyguard at the side couldn't help but step forward to ask for instructions. "Miss, let's go back. Who is not a eldest lady, she also has a temper." Gu Jiantong thought Wei Ni would keep her. Back then, they studied in the same school and were assigned to the same dormitory. The friendship during their student days was much more pure than after they entered the society. "We are less and more apart, but we have always maintained good contact." This was proved by Wei Ni's willingness to go to Zhang Lingzi to strengthen her without saying a word. But it was only once that he met Zhang Lingzi, and his friend actually spoke for Zhang Lingzi. This is unacceptable to her. Even though she knew deep down in her heart that her friend's words were well-intentioned advice, the last thing she needed right now was this. She and Zhang Lingzi are destined to be enemies. What she wants is to help her relatives but not to take care of her. It is the favoritism of her friends regardless of the reason. Coupled with the fact that Zhang Lingzi was so angry that his brain was about to explode, Gu Jiantong left regardless. After finally calming down for a while, she turned her head and looked to her side. Let alone a good friend, not even a bodyguard from the friend's side came with him. Turning back to the place where they had just left, she saw the eye-catching team of bodyguards, surrounded by her friends, who were almost out of the fashion palace. Gu Qintung's eyes turned red and she quickly put on her sunglasses. What did she do today? Fourth floor. Zhang Lingzi happened to be standing opposite. Seeing Gu Jiantong and the eldest lady of the Albers family part ways due to some unknown dispute, and then when Gu Jiantong turned around and found that the person had left, she knew that this person was not worth her attention. Just a spoiled young lady. Before, the crowd gathered around me crazily, but now I am just lonely. They are all used to it. She looked away indifferently. After finally visiting the fashion museum on the top floor and being warmly invited by Yun Chan for a meal, Zhang Lingzi took Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao to bid farewell to Wei Minmin and returned to Chongxiao Tower. How was your day? Did you have fun? Lu Zhengzheng put down the large and small bags in her hands and nodded. I'm happy, it's so enjoyable. Fang Yao also nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. I bought so many things. Part of it was bought, and part of it was given by Yun Chan. Have you seen Yun Chan yet? Where did you see him? She happened to be in her store at the Fashion Palace, and we had dinner together in the evening. Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao saw that their sister 11 did not tell them about meeting the eldest lady of the Albers family in Yun. They looked at each other and decided to remain silent. But then I heard Sister Tong asking them while packing her bags. I read on the internet today that the eldest lady of the Albers family also went to the fashion palace. Did you go there to see the real person? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 626. Zhang Lingzi continued to nod calmly. I did see a real person, and it was quite close. Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao, on the other hand, looked a little strange when they heard this. Even though everyone had already left by the time they came back, when they continued shopping, they still heard Sister Minmin recount how their sister Zixi sent people away with a few words. I just regret that they were not there and could not see with their own eyes the scene of coming with strength and retreating in defeat. How can this not be called seeing a real person? Tong Yu originally just asked casually, and it happened to happen when he was checking his phone in the afternoon, but then he looked at the reaction of the two assistants. What are your expressions? Lu Zhengzheng waved her hands hurriedly. No, it's nothing. Fang Yao also shook his head. If my sister Zixi offended Miss Gu in the fashion palace, she also offended Miss Albers along the way. I'd better not say anything about it. They are also thinking about Sister Tong's little heart. Tong Yu's suspicious eyes wandered around the two people's faces for a while, and finally moved to Zhang Lingzi's face. Lingzi, Mr. Shen hasn't responded yet. He won't be back tonight. We don't have to worry about him since he has a place to stay. She received a message from Shen Yunqing when she was shopping outside in the afternoon. Not long after meeting Wu Ju, the group of them discovered traces of the Changkang clan people. The purpose of these people appearing here has not yet been found. The people from Changkang sect would not appear here for no reason, so their purpose is a bit intriguing. Zhang Lingzi has also thought about it, but she doesn't have a clue yet. It is also possible that someone came specifically to deal with her. Who told her to ruin the Changkangmen event in the desert not long ago? Now they are all outside China. Although the international fashion town is now crowded with all parties, more people means more right and wrong, and more chaos. Think it is indeed a good place to start. Upon hearing that Mr. Shen would not be back tonight, several people sitting or standing in the room breathed a sigh of relief almost at the same time. Then they looked at each other silently. Although they have met Mr. Shen more than once or twice, this time is different. We all live in a large suite. It's fine in our own bedroom, but once we leave the bedroom, it will be rude if our hair or clothes are a little messy, which will make us feel uncomfortable. They cannot be as comfortable as Zhang Lingzi. I don't know what Mr. Shen's plans are for the next few days, but tonight, they can finally relax. Tong Yu immediately put down the bag in her hand. I'll go back to the house and change into home clothes. Afraid that Mr. Shen would come back at any time, she was still wearing an upright women's suit and skirt. Looking at the other people who also went back to the house to change into light clothes, Zhang Lingzi said. She should ask the girl in charge of their side, Wang Lu, if she can arrange a separate room for her and Shen Yunqing tomorrow morning. It doesn't matter if it's small. I really didn't expect that after so long, those around me would still be so reserved when facing Shen Yunqing. Tong Yu changed into home clothes and came out. Her hair was pulled down and she had a blue and gold card in her hand. Go to the sofa next to Zhang Lingzi and sit down, handing over the card in his hand. This is the invitation letter for the welcome dinner. The girl Wang Lu who hosted us this afternoon sent it personally. It will be held tomorrow night. The address is at the South District Banquet Hall of Albers Manor. I checked the map on the internet and it's not too far away, but I have to prepare early tomorrow. This is the most important trip before the ceremony starts. Zhang Lingzi took the invitation letter and looked at it. This one was not completely handwritten like the one before. Only her name was written in handwriting. It was the final signature, a Boschini. He is the second son of the Albers family. I checked and inquired. The chief planner of every international fashion festival is taken over by the heirs of the current generation of the Albers family in turn. This is also used to verify their abilities. It's this time's turn. As she spoke, Tong Yu was hesitant to speak. When Zhang Lingzi turned her head and looked over, she took a deep breath and continued, "There are still rumors, but they are not really rumors anymore. The second son of the Albers family, the young master, is naturally romantic and has girlfriends all over the world, and together he can support several football teams. Moreover, in the past 2 years, 6 of the 8 girlfriends he has publicly acknowledged are from China, and many people say that it is very likely that the Albers family will have a daughter-in-law from China. Even if the second young master likes her, she will definitely show up at the dinner, so just be careful." Even though she knew that her artist already had Mr. Shen by her side, she would definitely not fall in love with the carefree second son of the Albers family. But with the appearance and temperament of our artist, what if he is attracted by the other party? This man's way of pursuing his girlfriend was well known to the whole world. If he were to apply it to Ling 11, it would always cause some trouble. I'm just giving you a heads up. After all, she can't just disguise her artist in a bad way to avoid this. Although it is just a welcome banquet and not as grand as a grand ceremony, there are still many eyes paying attention to it. Zhang Lingzi looked at Tong Yu's worried expression and nodded helplessly, "I understand. It's about missing a shadow. Even if there is a shadow, she is confident that it will disappear." Asterisk. At the same time, in a holiday villa not far from Chongxiao Tower, Wu Hua quietly looked at Yin Chong, who was standing in front of him with his head bowed. Yin Chong lowered his head and stared at the small area of his toes. He could still feel that the master's gaze was like lingering, scratching every inch of his body. Unconsciously, there was already moisture behind me. Then I heard the door owner's voice, "Why are you here without permission?" This tone sounded light and airy, but Yin Chong was stunned to hear the dense needles in it. Xin Yihan simply knelt down. My subordinates learned that Zhang Lingzi also received an invitation to the International Fashion Festival. Last time she ruined the sect owner's affairs in the Liangchuan desert and caused heavy losses to the section. Now she has left Huazhu. The territory has also lost a lot of protection, and my subordinates are bold and want to take advantage of this opportunity to kill people. Wu Hua's face didn't move at all when he heard his words of loyalty to help solve a serious problem that he was deeply concerned about. "Am I giving you permission to take action without permission?" Yin Chong's back stiffened. Wu Hua dropped another bomb for him. "Wuju is here too, you don't know yet, right?" Yin Chong suddenly raised his head and looked over. "Master. Of course I have my own ways. We were such close brothers and sisters. But I knew Wuju was coming, and Wuju should have known that I was coming. It's great to see each other again. And your thoughts, don't think I haven't noticed it." Wu Hua looked at Yin Chong's stiffness and suddenly curled his lips and laughed. "What a wishful thinking. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry." Author, Press 11. Chapter 627. Zhang Lingzi held the hem of her skirt with one hand and held Shen Yunqing's arm with the other as she got out of the car. The dress this time was chosen by Xiao Xiao for her. "The clothes I brought back from the fashion palace yesterday were fine for street photography, but not very suitable as dresses for this occasion." So Xiao Xiao, as a disciple of top stylist Yun Ping, borrowed her the international high-end brand couture she currently wears. Although it is a little inconvenient to move around, it looks good. The clothes were delivered, which surprised both Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao. Previously, Xiao Xiao joined Zhang Lingzi's team with 2 assistants, who basically did makeup and styling. At home, there are no big occasions, so I basically wear Shan Yu's Haiheng's clothes. There is nothing to worry about in terms of clothing. But now, they have moved from China to the world. It's not that they can't continue to wear Shan Yu's Haiheng's clothes, but they can't always wear the same brand on every occasion. After all, sometimes the dress you wear is also a symbol of your status in the entertainment industry. In addition to being responsible for the makeup and hairstyles of their own artists, celebrity stylists sometimes also need to help the artists borrow enough weighty dresses. In this, connections and abilities are indispensable. After learning how difficult it was to borrow this dress, Lu Zhengzhen even whispered to Fang Yao, "I finally know why Mr. Xiao spared no expense to hire Sister Xiao Xiao. In the past, I only thought that Sister Xiao Xiao was good at makeup, and there was another reason why she was so fond of her." Suddenly, Xiao Xiao received two looks of admiration. Who would have known that she also breathed a sigh of relief? Finally waited until the day when she would be of great use. Before, she only put on makeup and did some styling, so she felt a little embarrassed to get the huge remuneration. Hence this time, she had to put in a lot of effort to borrow the dress, which had already been targeted by several star teams. Not far ahead is the place where the welcome dinner will be held. The huge white building was brightly decorated, and the grass in front of the building was as bright as day. Numerous figures passed by, and everyone had a decent smile on their face. Celebrities who have attracted much attention in front of the screen are just one of them here. In addition, there is also a side hall, which is reserved for the entourage of invited guests to rest. Shen Yunqing came back this afternoon after Zhang Lingzi had dressed up and was ready to go. Lu Zhengzhen was originally with Zhang Lingzi, but when she saw someone, she retreated to Fang Yao's side, leaving her sister Zixi and Mr. Shen to spend time together. However, just as they were driving all the way in the car and walking to the red carpet, the two of them had to separate. One goes to the dinner venue and the other goes to rest next door. Moreover, there were Tong Yu and the others at the back, so Zhang Lingzi didn't ask him what he had been doing for almost a day and a night. "Let's wait until the dinner is over before we go back. Sister Zixi, let's go there first." Zhang Lingzi waved her hands to Tong Yu and others, and they left first. Shen Yunqing was left standing beside her quietly. "You should have a good rest first and then talk about it when you get back." "Yes." Shen Yunqing silently handed over the invitation letter. Then I watched His Majesty walking forward alone, checking the invitation letter at the entrance of the venue, and then continued forward until he merged into the crowd and was blocked by the crowds of people. Then he turned around and walked in the other direction. Zhang Lingzi walked to a long white table and reached out to pick up a glass of red wine that had just been put on by the waiter. Shaked it, but didn't drink. Continuing to walk forward, someone on the way looked over and gestured with a smile, and she responded. I didn't stop until I reached a seating area with fewer people. In fact, there were fewer people in the building hall in front, but it seemed that no one would go in for a while, and they would all gather on the grass outside. She was not going to be the one to take the lead, so she would just follow them outside for a while. Sister 11, I finally found you. Just after taking a sip of wine, Zhang Lingzi looked up and saw Wei Minmin holding a wine glass in one hand and holding a plate of small cakes in the other. He walked to the seat next to her and sat down. I accidentally came early, this dinner is really boring. Zhang Lingzi shook the red wine glass in her hand, I just came. No wonder I didn't see you after looking for a while, Wei Minmin said without forgetting to take a bite of the cake. Sister 11, do you want to eat it? I'll get you another piece. No need, I thought there wouldn't be anything serious to eat at this dinner, so I came here specifically to eat. I wanted to eat before I came here, but look at the dress I'm wearing today, my agent refused to let me eat, so I had to eat secretly here. Zhang Lingzi then took a look at the dress she was wearing. It was slim-fitting and quite tight. A little tight. Wei Minmin stuck out her tongue, my agent said today that I had gained 3 pounds since I came here. Otherwise, this dress would be just right. Speaking of the dress, she also looked at Zhang Lingzi, hey, your dress. What's wrong? This is MR's autumn and winter haute couture this year. I heard it's hard to borrow. I'm not sure about this, the stylist helped me borrow it. That girl named Xiao Xiao, she's pretty awesome. The two of them were talking quietly, forming a small world of their own, but someone came to disturb the situation. Zhang Lingzi was the first to notice an unkind look. She looked up and saw Zhou Lingyu walking towards the side. His eyes fell on the dress she wore today and she raised her eyebrows. When the others came closer, Wei Minmin, who was still nibbling on the cake, realized someone was coming. She turned around and her eyes widened. You guys are wearing matching shirts. This would be fine in normal times, but on such a grand occasion, it would be a bit embarrassing. Wait a minute, doesn't MR produce one of every high-end model? But now there are two sets. Is it possible that one of them is a copycat? Thinking of this, Wei Minmin silently put down the unfinished small cake, struggling not to know what to say. She knows the stylists in Zhou Lingyu's team. Sister 11's stylist is indeed not as famous as Zhou Lingyu's. So, which one is the fake? Zhang Lingzi withdrew her gaze and took a sip of red wine quietly. Zhou Lingyu looked at her expression and said it didn't matter if she wore different clothes. She couldn't stand it at first. Where did you borrow this dress? Assistant to borrow. What a coincidence, mine is also from Mr. I need to kindly remind you that they only have one set of each model. If there are two sets that are exactly the same, one must be real and the other fake. The one you are wearing must be a copycat. Of. Seeing that Zhang Lingzi was still indifferent, Zhou Lingyu was so angry that she puffed out her nostrils. Before the dinner party starts, you'd better contact your people to change it quickly, so as not to make a joke in public later. However, this was not a kind reminder from her, but she discovered that even if Zhang Lingzi was wearing a copycat version of the dress, it would look better than the original one on her, and even the makeup and hairstyle would suit her better. This is so irritating. End of chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 628. How are you so sure that this is a fake? Zhou Lingyu waited for Zhang Lingzi to get up in a hurry and rush to change the dress. Hearing this, she felt as if she had heard a fairy tale. This dress of mine must be real. The stylist I hired is the famous teacher Su Men. How could he lend me a copycat dress? It's a fake dress. It's Ms. Jiang's stylist. I haven't heard of him being very famous, so I wouldn't be surprised if he borrows a copycat version. Wei Minmin sat between the two of them, looking at Zhou Lingyu and then at Zhang Lingzi. Thanks to the bright lights, even though it was outdoors at night, her eyes inevitably fell on the two of them. This is a heavy-duty dress, made of dark green fused silk fabric. When the light shines on it, you can still see a bit of golden color, which is reflected by the golden threads that are woven together. Embroidery is on the right cuff and skirt, and the blue-purple sky pattern climbs up. Whether it is tailoring or design, it is a consistent feature of the MR brand. Majestic and graceful. Most people can't hold it back. At first glance, there is indeed no difference between the two dresses. The difference is only in the person wearing them. Zhou Lingyu has a bright and majestic appearance. Since her debut, whether in TV or movies, she has played the role of a heroine. One of the most famous plays is the role of the queen, and later she even became a professional queen. When everyone talks about who played the queen, the first thing that comes to mind is the role played by Zhou Lingyu, which is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. But she was standing here at the moment, and Zhang Lingzi was still sitting. The two of them were so high and the other low, but their auras were reversed. The one who is sitting looks more like a towering and motionless mountain, while the one who is standing looks more like he is making trouble unreasonably. Let's not talk about whether this dress is a copycat or not, and regardless of selfish motives, just look at the effect after the two of them put it on. She will take Zhang Lingzi's side. People are afraid of comparison. Not to mention the comparison, it's a bit tragic. At this moment, Wei Minmin suddenly understood why Zhou Lingyu was so impatient. It would be really embarrassing if the genuine version is not as good as the knockoff version and the brand sees it. Zhou Lingyu came into contact with Wei Minmin's sympathetic eyes, and instantly understood why she sympathized with him, and her head buzzed. What are you waiting for, Ms. Zhang? If you dare to wear fake clothes on such an occasion, aren't you afraid of being permanently blocked by Mr. Zhang Lingzi was also looking at Zhou Lingyu's dress. She didn't think there was anything wrong with matching clothes. After all, whoever was ugly was embarrassed. But if the other party is always so aggressive, then she has never been good-tempered. I will return this to Miss Zhou. Ha, Zhou Lingyu was stunned for a moment, then smiled. You mean to say that this is a copycat? I really don't know who gave you the confidence. Zhang Lingzi stood up, walked around the small table and walked in front of Zhou Lingyu. She was half a head taller than Zhou Lingyu, who was wearing super high heels. At this moment, her cold eyes scanned her whole body at close range, and she gently picked up Zhou Lingyu's dress and touched it. Zhou Lingyu subconsciously took a step back. What are you doing? Confirm your dress weighs at most 2 kilograms. Do you know how much mine weighs? How much? About 5 kilograms. Wei Minmin poked her head over and asked, Sister 11, what does this weight mean? Xiao Xiao told me when he brought the dress over that the raw material used for this dress is a rare plant fiber. The fabric is woven with 3 layers of thread, so be careful not to scratch it, otherwise it will be difficult to mend. I just touched it and found that the materials of the 2 pieces of clothing are indeed different. Wei Minmin couldn't help but curiously touch Zhang Lingzi's sleeves, then looked at Zhou Lingyu's body, her little hands ready to move. But before she could apply for a touch, Zhou Lingyu took a step back again, but her face was no longer as sure as before, and her tone was a bit more sinister. The material of the clothes can't explain anything, and who knows whether what your stylist said is true. Maybe he was afraid that you would damage it and made it so serious. It's up to you whether you want to change it or not. Anyway, it won't be me who will be embarrassed. After speaking, he turned around and left. Wei Minmin looked at Zhou Lingyu's back, which was a bit more panicked than when he came over. It seems that Zhou Lingyu is not sure in her heart either. Tisk, it's true, her mouth is as tough as ever. But her stylist, Su Men, is indeed quite famous in the industry. Why did she borrow a copycat dress this time? It's from Mr. The key is to just make a copycat. I also met the original version at a banquet. This. Wei Minmin murmured in a low voice and turned to look at Zhang Lingzi. She saw Zhou Lingyu, who had already stopped paying attention and walked away, looking up at the huge white building in front of her. She subconsciously looked over and saw a few figures standing on the corridor on the 2nd floor. The distance is a bit far and I can't see the face clearly. But the people who can stand there at this time are definitely not the invited guests. All the guests will be here. Could he be a member of the Albers family? As soon as this guess flashed through her mind, she saw a flash of light. I suddenly realized that I was taking pictures with my mobile phone and turned on the flash. I quickly blocked it subconsciously and at the same time withdrew my gaze. Looking at Zhang Lingzi again, she had already sat back in her original seat. She also followed Dion and sat back. Sister 11, those people just now. Boring person. Wei Minmin. The 2 of them were eating and drinking here, waiting for the guests to arrive and the banquet to begin. However, Zhou Lingyu walked to the edge and took out her mobile phone and called her agent directly. Where's Suman? Let me take a look. It seems that he went to the bathroom. What are you doing with him? Go to the bathroom to find him. I have something to ask him. Zhou Lingyu's agent, then I'll call you back later. However, before Zhou Lingyu received the call back from her agent, she heard the atmosphere at the banquet suddenly change. Everyone who was just exchanging pleasantries in low voices became a little excited on their faces. She turned her head and looked towards the entrance of the banquet, and saw 2 heavyweight figures. Wei Minmin exclaimed, I didn't expect these two to be invited this time. Most of the people present do want to please the Albers family, which plays an important role in the fashion industry, but there are exceptions. The two people who have just arrived are exceptions. One has won the International Best Actor 3 times, and his background is not inferior to that of the Albers family. The other is an international supermodel turned actor. Not only did she win the title of International Best Actress, she also founded her own high-end brand. The key thing is that the two of them are still a husband and wife team. Zhang Lingzi usually doesn't pay much attention to the entertainment industry, but she is usually attracted by many popular movies by people around her. She will watch them when she has nothing to do, and she is not unfamiliar with the two faces that appear in her field of vision. Wei Minmin's voice rang in my ears, the finale is here, it seems the banquet is about to begin. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 629. Zhang Lingzi narrowed her eyes when she saw the person striding out from the banquet hall holding a glass of red wine. Welcome. Wei Minmin nuzzled Zhang Lingzi's ear while listening to the welcome speech. The second young master of the Albers family seems quite serious, but you can't tell how carefree he is. Zhang Lingzi looked at the direction of the corridor on the second floor again. He was the one who was secretly photographed on the second floor just now. Wei Minmin was stunned when she heard it, and then she suddenly changed her voice when she realized it. The more serious the surface is, the more carefree and sentimental it is on the inside. No, then, Sister UN11, have you seen who it is? I have good eyesight. Wei Minmin touched her slightly short-sighted eyes and felt a shock. Please move to the lobby. The lawn in front of the banquet hall has been beautifully decorated, but the luxury inside the hall still shocked many people. Zhang Lingzi and Wei Minmin followed the flow of people and walked in, but couldn't help but look around a few more times. The whispers around him also reached his ears. It's really the style of this second young master, just one word, trench. I heard that this iris is the favorite flower of the second young master's new girlfriend. She is so doted on. Looking at the decoration, this time the banquet is going to be lively and lively. It feels better than the last one organized by the eldest son. After all, the eldest son is in a serious and pragmatic style. This second young master is still willing to spend money. For others, it's time to sprinkle water. On the stage in the center of the hall, there is also a transparent crystal grand piano. I heard that the second young master's new girlfriend is also a talented piano girl. Let's play the piano. Shouldn't we perform on stage later? It's very possible it's all on display and it can't just be a decoration. Now you can listen to a concert for free. Zhang Lingzi listened while walking. The layout of the banquet hall was sparse and dense. The banquet hall accommodated nearly 300 people, and it did not appear crowded at all. But she still didn't stop until she reached the corner where there was no one around. She didn't know many people here, and there were even fewer people she was familiar with, so there was no need to blend in with the crowd. She found a comfortable seat and sat down. Wei Minmin, who had been following her, also wanted to sit next to her. You don't have to stay with me all the time. You can go and play if you want. Wei Minmin suddenly looked aggrieved. Sister 11, do you think I'm annoying? Zhang Lingzi. Actually, I think this banquet is quite boring, but I can't do it if I don't come. I couldn't find anyone to chat with even if I was bored before. Even if Zhang Lingzi could tell that this girl was pretending, she lost her temper and said, okay, sit down. Hey. Some people like to join in the fun, while others like to stay quietly. After a while, there were a few people sitting around the two of them, but most of them were gathered at the edge of the stage, drinking, talking and laughing. Zhang Lingzi took a bite of the small cake that Wei Minmin brought over. When she heard the applause, she looked up and saw a girl wearing a smoky pink gauze skirt walking onto the stage and sitting elegantly in front of the piano. Wei Minmin swallowed the cake in her mouth and said, "She is the girlfriend of the second young master. She looks so exquisite, but she looks a bit small." As the girl's fingers landed on the keys, cheerful music immediately flowed throughout the hall. Everyone also fell silent and listened quietly to this piano music, which represented welcome and joy. Zhang Lingzi was also listening quietly, but she soon noticed something and looked back from the stage to the seat next door. At some point, a figure appeared there. She was wearing a black gauze skirt and wrapped her slim figure. The corner of her mouth was slightly curled, charming all living beings. Wu Hua met Zhang Lingzi's gaze, raised the wine glass in his hand, opened his lips slightly, and spoke silently. "Your Majesty." Zhang Lingzi couldn't help but frown. Although she had long known from Wuja that this person would probably not die so easily, but how long it had been since now, for this person to appear in front of her so blatantly, wouldn't it mean that the injuries she suffered in the underground tomb at that time had healed? Moreover, this person didn't appear here just to say hello to her. Zhang Lingzi stood up suddenly, causing Wei Minmin, who was still squinting to enjoy the music, to come back to her senses. Then she noticed a beautiful figure sitting opposite. He seemed to be aware of his gaze, and the other person looked over with a smile, his eyes moving, and he was fascinated. Wei Minmin clearly heard the sound of herself swallowing. At the same time, he silently said to himself, "Fairy. If there had been such a person outside just now, she would not have been impressed." It wasn't until Zhang Lingzi stood up and left her position that she took her eyes off the goblin and asked, "Sister 11, where are you going? Say something to someone and I'll be back later." Wei Minmin thought Zhang Lingzi had met someone familiar, so she nodded. Then he watched Zhang Lingzi walk up to the female seductress in the black gauze skirt and said expressionlessly, "Take a step to speak." Wu Hua stood up quickly and said happily, "Okay, there is no one on the second floor, shall we go to the second floor? Lead the way." Wei Minmin watched the two people leave. She lifted her chin. Someone was guarding the position of the spiral staircase, but after seeing the person approaching, he quickly stepped aside. The two of them arrived on the second floor without any obstruction. Compared to the first floor, which is full of people, the second floor is much quieter. Zhang Lingzi glanced at the girl below who was still playing the piano, and then turned her eyes to Wu Hua who was standing next to her. "Did you do this on purpose? There are so many seats in the lobby on the first floor, and this person happened to choose the seat next to her." She didn't believe it even if she said it wasn't intentional. "Didn't I see His Majesty?" Wu Hua's voice was soft and graceful. "I have to come over and say hello to your Majesty. You are lucky. Who would be willing to die when living feels so good? Don't you think so, your Majesty? It does feel good to be alive, but you shouldn't resort to any means necessary to survive," Zhang Lingzi said as she struck out like lightning and grabbed Wu Hua's left arm. A hint of surprise flashed in Wu Hua's eyes, and he subconsciously wanted to avoid it, but then he restrained his subconscious reaction. Zhang Lingzi held Wu Hua's arm wrapped in layers of black gauze, and immediately felt a chill spreading into her palm. "Your Majesty is too merciless. I don't need these 4 words for you." Zhang Lingzi let go of her hand and glanced at the palm of her hand. The originally red and healthy palms had turned pale in just a few seconds, and even turned a little blue under the bright light. She placed her palms in front of Wu Hua. "Are you sure you are still alive like this?" Wu Hua Ding glanced at the palms in front of him and suddenly laughed out loud, but this smile did not make anyone who heard it feel happy at all. After she finished laughing, she leaned forward slightly, her face almost touching Zhang Lingzi's palm, and lowered her voice, "Your Majesty, you shouldn't have come. Let's not ruin her big event. From now on, let's fight to the death. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, X Press 11. Chapter 630. Wei Minmin finally waited until Zhang Lingzi came back, and couldn't help but look behind her. When someone sat down, he couldn't wait to ask, "Sister 11, where is the sister in the black gauze skirt just now?" Zhang Lingzi saw that she was very interested in Wu Hua and couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. "What are you looking for her for?" "I want to get to know her. She is so beautiful, like a fairy." "Sister 11, are you friends with her? Can you introduce her to me?" "No, we are not friends, we are enemies." Ga. These words seemed to be a joke, but Wei Minmin looked at Zhang Lingzi's expression and felt that it was true. No, it can't be. Is the word enemy too serious? What's more, in this day and age, how much hatred does one have to become an enemy? Forget her. Good. Wei Minmin still nodded obediently. Seeing that Zhang Lingzi didn't want to talk more about this topic, she didn't dare to ask further. She glanced at the banquet hall again. There were many people wearing black dresses, but they were not the goblin-like women. The other person seems to be a real goblin, appearing suddenly and disappearing suddenly. The piano music stopped and everyone applauded in unison. The girl stood up, picked up her skirt on the stage, bowed to everyone, and walked off the stage. The second young master stood at the bottom of the steps, watching his girlfriend come down, and stretched out his hand in cooperation. Wei Minmin just put down her applauding hand, and couldn't help but click her tongue when she saw this scene, and turned around with a gossipy face. "Sister 11, among the guests invited today is the ex-girlfriend of the second young master. I don't know if there will be a shura field today, Sister 11. Zhang Lingzi came back to her senses and put the hand that had grabbed Wu Hua's arm under the table. "I think you are not here for the banquet today, but for gossip. The banquet is not interesting, and it will be like that if you participate in it too much rather than joining together to compete for beauty. I would rather enjoy the feast." At this moment, another pianist appeared on the stage, and the music played became softer. The bright lights in the hall also dimmed a bit. The smell of perfume and wine suddenly became richer, and the atmosphere of the entire space became more intense. There was also a hint of ambiguity and confusion. Overly bright lights will make people unable to hide, and everyone will keep their distance reservedly. But when the light dims and the senses outside the eyes are magnified, people will lose their reserve and become wanton. This is similar to the fact that the lights are not very bright in places like bars where people vent their emotions. Changing cups and cups, chatting in low voices, it can be seen with the naked eye that the distance between people has become much closer. Within a short while, many people were already chatting with each other, and they naturally held hands and danced with the music. Wei Minmin was also very excited to watch. It's really the style of this second young master. They say he is a master of romance, and now I have seen it. The original welcome banquet was turned into a welcome dance. She still remembered the last time she came to the dinner party organized by the eldest son of the Albers family. It was a serious dinner. From the beginning to the end, everyone kept their chests straight and their stomachs in check. The welcome banquet felt like a family banquet. "Oh, this dance is not as good as the last one. Can't eat well. Whether it's fruit or small desserts, the former is not enough, and the latter will make you tired after eating too much. Although there is a lot of wine, who would dare to accidentally drink too much and lose control in this kind of situation? But now it seems that everyone's thoughts are not on eating and drinking. I'll go, no." Zhang Lingzi is now used to Wei Minmin taking her to have a meal with her from time to time, or giving her a surprise. "What did you see again?" The second young man left his current girlfriend alone and actually asked her ex-girlfriend to dance. The key point is that his current girlfriend was watching nearby and she didn't seem angry at all. Zhang Lingzi raised her eyes and glanced in the direction of Wei Minmin's gaze. "It's all just a joke." Wei Minmin thought for a while and nodded. "That's right. This second young master and his girlfriends don't seem to be in love with each other to the death. They usually get together and break up easily. It's just a little regretful that the small Shura field she was looking forward to is gone. The regret ends in the hand that is handed to you. This beautiful girl, can I invite you to dance? Wei Minmin subconsciously turned her head and looked over. Just in time to meet the blonde and blue-eyed young man. He winked at her. Handsome guy. He is also a handsome guy with a very clean temperament. Sister 11. How could Zhang Lingzi not see that this girl was a little cautious? She waved her hand and said, let's go play. The blonde and blue-eyed young man politely took the hand offered by Wei Minmin and walked toward the dance floor not far away. After walking a few steps, he couldn't help but look back at the figure sitting quietly. I just came here, and I actually wanted to invite this person. But before he could speak after he got closer, the other party raised his eyes and looked over. Just a calm glance made him change direction subconsciously. Looking over at this moment, the man is sitting alone, but he doesn't feel lonely at all. Nobility and mystery linger around him, making people want to explore, but can't help but be timid. The dance ends. Wei Minmin took back her hand on the young man's shoulder and was about to leave. Minmin, can you tell me your friend's name? Wei Minmin was stunned for 2 seconds before she realized who her temporary dance partner was asking. She couldn't help but raised her eyebrows, and then smiled. Her name is Zhang Lingzi, but you don't have a chance. She has someone she likes. Okay, you both have nice names. Wei Minmin clinked glasses with him, turned around and returned to her sister 11 without any hesitation. Why don't you play more? Just dance a bit to get the fun out of it, but it's more comfortable and quiet to just sit and eat and watch a show. But it's not easy to be quiet. Although the location where they are sitting is remote and hidden, everyone else has slipped onto the dance floor, and you are the only one who is still sitting on the ground, which is a bit conspicuous. Soon several more dancers came. Zhang Lingzi doesn't know how to dance and doesn't plan to dance. Wei Minmin doesn't want to move after he's had enough. He rejects everyone that comes. There are actually people I can't invite. Hearing the sound, the second son of Albers, who had just danced a song with his ex-girlfriend, looked at his friend who was still unwilling to accept it, and asked curiously, who else can deny you face? Those who can call him brothers are naturally rich children of similar age and status. Not to mention that his good friend's appearance is not inferior to that of the male celebrities who were invited. Of course, compared with him, it is still a little bit worse. But no one would refuse it before. Hey, the one sitting over there is wearing a dark green dress, isn't he beautiful? Kevin looked in the direction indicated by his friend and suddenly narrowed his eyes. He still had an impression of that figure. When the guests were walking among each other on the grass outside the banquet hall, he hadn't shown up yet. He was actually on the second floor. All faces and movements are in full view. What impressed him the most was the dark green color in which Mo Yuran sat upright. It looks like a clown against the same dark green on the opposite side. What surprised him even more was that the other party actually noticed his gaze. The moment he raised his eyes and looked over, he even felt as if his heartbeat had skipped a beat. Subconsciously, I clicked on the camera on my phone and pressed the shutter. Unfortunately, I only captured a glimpse of the back turned back. Is her. His current girlfriend and ex-girlfriend had just been treated with considerate comfort by him, and now they finally got away. He was about to look for that dark green color. Thanks, buddy. Friends. Are you polite?